10 out of 10. I have no notes. This episode was just beautiful. This show was the best show of the year. But I wanted to talk about Una. When Shane's dad catches Ilya and him making out outside, he goes back to his and Una's house. And he doesn't tell her. It doesn't seem like he's like, oh my God, you wouldn't believe what I just saw. No, it seems as though, he kept that to himself. And that also speaks to the type of dad that he is, It's not about keeping secrets. It's about waiting it out for your son to talk to you before you blow it out of proportion and maybe giving him some time to talk to his mom himself. And I love that. But back to Una. So after she does the Una thing of asking the questions that need to be asked, of course, she goes outside after Ilya and Shane both admit that they've only been in love with each other their whole lives. They've never been in love with anybody else but each other. She sees that this is real. She gets emotional and she dashes outside, and Shane follows her and he apologizes and he tells her, I tried, but I just couldn't help it. And you can see in that moment, he feels as though, I'm sorry for disappointing you. I'm sorry for not being perfect. I'm sorry for, but not in a sarcastic way either. He's genuinely thinking that he let her down. She replies and tells him that, I'm sorry if I made you feel as though you couldn't open up to me. And she asks for his forgiveness, which is something that we barely ever hear about. And I commend the writer for that. That scene was necessary in this storytelling, and just the fact that she asked him for forgiveness, because it's like, at one point, I think David, the dad, he said, we know you pretty well, right? So in other words, that we kind of had a feeling that you were gay. And he says, we know you pretty well. But does Shane know you well enough to be comfortable enough to tell you that he is gay? Do you see what I'm saying? So in a sense, yes, you know me, but you guys haven't opened up enough for me to feel comfortable where I can say, Mom and Dad, this is the situation. So I can understand why she would apologize. I get that. One of the ways to accept somebody's apology is to not make excuses for them and to not brush it off. So I love that he said, I forgive you. Full stop. There was no, oh, no, you didn't have to apologize. No, it wasn't your fault. And no. So I love that. Una, she was a bit much in the beginning of the season. She was hands-on, momager, and it just seems as though she was always on that momager tip. And then you see a completely different side of her in this episode, especially in this scene where she's talking to Shane outside one-on-one, and you see that her being a mom is prioritized over the momager stuff, and that is a beautiful thing. And I love that when she went back to the table, she got right back into momager mode. Love it. And she saw his sexuality as a positive and not a negative. And we all know that she's going to be momagering Ilya, because, it's Ilya. How could you not love Ilya, right? Definitely going to be their favorite son. That's what's going to happen. And I think him and the dad are going to form a really good bond. But yeah, man, this episode was just so good, bro. This TV show is just so good. They did such a great job with keeping close to the script. All of the parts that I loved in the book, they were sure to put in the TV show. And I just appreciate that so much. Unfortunately, we have to wait until 2027 for season 2. I know that Connor and Hudson have signed a 3-year deal with the show, which is pretty good. But I think what's going to happen too is they're going to be introducing new characters. We're going to see Ilya and Shane, yes, but I think it's going to be focused on the other characters. Can I just say this one thing though? I am a person of Haitian descent. One of the things that I loved about the book was the character JJ, who was Shane's other friend while he was in Montreal. I loved how they talked about going to the Haitian club and eating Haitian food and stuff like that. I hope that they reintroduce the character JJ and he's a little closer to book JJ. I would really like that. My next thing that I would really love for the show to do would be to get Rihanna on the show, because Shane and Ilya's song is Diamond by Rihanna. If you've read the books, you know that that's their song. So it would be really cool if Rihanna would come and perform that during that special time. This series was definitely the best show of the year. And like, what do you watch after this? You know, I know that Interview with the Vampire is coming out next year in April, I think, but it's just a completely different show. It's a different love story that's not like this. But one of the things that I'm happy about is that the reintroduction of just romance, you know, romance, and not it being this overly dramatic thing, and it's just simple I love yous and overcoming, you know. I love that. And so yeah, shout out to Rachel Reed and Jacob and the cast, and just beautiful. This was just beautiful. So talk to you guys later. Bye.